The violence itself, of course, the enormous human rights violations that have taken place, and an opportunity now, of course, to turn the page. I'm from Bangladesh, and it's been a week of euphoria followed by uncertainty. And we are all looking forward to Professor Yunus's arrival. He's just arrived, setting up of the interim government. But there are enormous challenges in this country. First of all, the history, the record of human rights violations means that there must be accountability. In fact, it is for the sake of accountability that the mass student movement took place. And their demand was the resignation of the government. But of course, there has to be an independent investigation. That is what I'm pushing for, that the UN-led independent investigation into the human rights violations, because the risk now is that given the long history of political violence in Bangladesh, we may actually just replace one autocratic ruler with another future autocratic ruler. So we need to ensure that there is accountability and that there are some institutions in place to ensure free and fair elections.
What are the challenges in conducting these free and fair elections? What are the challenges that the interim government faces in putting this in place?
Well, first of all, in getting a proper law and order and some stability, Dhaka is remarkably stable now. The police went on strike because they were so demoralized and they had been attacked by the crowds for their behavior. But students went out in the street and managed the traffic, managed the law and order. Obviously, that's not a long-term solution. So stability has to return to the country of 170 million people. That is first. The second is that there must be proper respect for human rights. The previous government had introduced very restrictive laws about online and offline speech, had put all sorts of restrictions on the media. That has to go. People have to be able to talk and debate. The third is there needs to be an investigation of human rights violations in this country because almost all political parties have been involved in it. And the truth has to come out so that the electorate can judge what is needed.
How much of a driver have students been in the change, excuse me, of Bangladesh in recent weeks that we've seen and in weeks and months to come?
Well, historically, students have played a big role in the history of this country, going back about 70, 80 years, with the first what we call the student language movement in the 1950s. And then through the liberation war and the breakup with Pakistan, and then more recently in a number, only about 10, 15 years ago, before Hasina herself started her 15-year-long reign, there was more upheaval. So in all of these political movements, students have taken a part. What has been remarkable here is the unity of the students and their commitment to see change. They have said very clearly, we are not talking about one person moving away. We are talking about systemic change. So they have very high expectations. This country has a huge young population unemployed. These children, students who are going through university, don't have employment prospects. That is what drove the movement. So there are deeper economic problems that need to be handled. And the students are saying that they want clean government and they want jobs and they want opportunities and they want respect for human rights.
And they actually wanted Muhammad Yunus in charge at the helm of this interim government. What difference do you think he can make to the state of Bangladesh politics and the country right now?
Well, one of the reasons why I think they asked for him is because he is such a figure of admiration in this country for what he has done for this country in terms of eradication of poverty and for gender equality. What he can do? Well, I think he can bring trust. People in this country do not trust any institutions. Under the previous government, over the 15 years rule, every single institution was captured by the ruling party. So people just don't trust anything, whether it's the police, whether it's the courts, etc. And there again, Yunus can play a very important role in building people's trust. And his most important aspect would be, of course, dealing with the army. The army is still there. It was to the army that the prime minister handed over before she left the country, and the president was appointed by the previous parliament, which has now been dissolved. So there is that sort of trust to be built and relationships to be built with these various institutions, so that there is no undermining of what has been achieved by the students, no backsliding on the promises, on the aspirations that we have.
Meanwhile, Bangladesh's Justice Minister said authorities did show restraint toward protesters. What is being done to find out the truth?
Well, that is exactly why I think we should have an international, independent, thorough investigation into what has happened. What is very clear, I mean, the evidence is there to see the numbers of students who have been killed, the videos that have shown point blank shooting of students by the police, and also violence from the youth wing of the previous ruling party, the Awami League. All those, of course, violations are very evident for people to see. And the risk now is that, not knowing exactly what has happened and how justice will be done, some people are taking justice in their own hands. And that is another reason why we need to have a proper international investigation alongside building up the scene for free and fair democratic elections soon.
Irene Khan, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you talking to the world tonight.